6 p.m.
The news from Guyana, the region, and the world. Compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
The news at 6 comes to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken KFC. With the news at this time, I'm Dennis Chabrol. Good evening. First, the highlights. Opposition lawmaker Sherrod Duncan has been arrested for allegedly offending a senior official of the Guyana Elections Commission. A top private sector official is rejecting claims by the Caribbean private sector organization that Guyana's local content law violates regional trade rules. In the region, Antigua and Barbuda will be granting amnesty to illegal immigrants. The Sandals Resort chain has apologized to the mighty Gabby after guards slapped him when he inquired about restrictions to access a beach. And internationally, the Duke of York's military titles and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen as he faces a U.S. civil action over sexual assault allegations. The details of these and other stories in a moment.
Planning to watch TV or listen to the radio or just enjoy a lime? Then grab a bucket of KFC finger-licking good chicken and enjoy the exciting taste of KFC and their branches on Vicinjan Road, Mandela Avenue, Regent Street, Ink Street, Stabrook Square, Breeden Hoop, Parika, Movie Town, are now at the Amazonia Mall at Providence. Now open from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. You'll always be enjoying the great taste of KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
And now the news in detail. Opposition parliamentarian Sherrod Duncan was arrested on Thursday to assist in an ongoing investigation in relation to a cybercrime offense. Police say he allegedly committed the offense in an official of the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM. Investigators say the politician was arrested after GECOM IT manager Anil Giddings alleged that on January 11 at about 8 p.m., Duncan made offensive remarks about him on a social media program in the ring. According to the Guyana Police Force, Mr. Giddings said that the opposition lawmaker made derogatory statements in which he was called by name and referred to by disrespectful names, which caused him significant emotional stress and humiliation. Police say they have since downloaded the video from the Facebook page under the name Sherrod Avery Duncan. And in related news, the opposition of Partnership for National Unity plus Alliance for Change, APNU-AFC, says the locking up of Mr. Sherrod Duncan amounts to political victimization. Opposition parliamentarian and Attorney at Law Amansa Walton Desir says the government is seeking to shut down opposition criticism. She says that the law is not being enforced in an even-handed manner.
I myself personally, life was threatened by a known government supporter who called for me to be marked, called for my home to be picketed, and he is the owner of one of the largest security firms here. I came down to the cybercrimes unit as a member of parliament, as a Guyanese citizen, and I made a report. And to date, that gentleman has not been even invited down to the station to give a statement. And so of serious concern is the unequal application and the selective application of the laws of Guyana.
Opposition leader Joseph Harman says the police facts in the issue reeks of political mischief. Mr. Harman calls the statements by the GECOM IT manager juvenile and are aimed at distracting Guyanese from what he says are the eroding structures at GECOM. The opposition leader says the APNU-AFC coalition is calling on the Guyana Police Force to rid itself of political interference and conduct itself in a professional manner. In a separate statement, the People's National Congress Reform vowed to do everything to ensure that Mr. Duncan's rights, especially his freedom of expression, are no longer violated. The PNCR is demanding an immediate investigation into what it calls a clearly planned, coordinated, and orchestrated political attack. The Caribbean Private Sector Organization, CPSO, is objecting to Guyana's recently passed local content legislation on the grounds that it seems to violate the Caribbean community's CARICOM free trade rules. This has prompted the president of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Timothy Tucker, to call for Guyana to leave the regional single market if this country continues to be disregarded. Speaking with News Talk Radio Guyana this afternoon, Mr. Tucker says he does not believe that Guyana's local content legislation violates CARICOM's revised Treaty of Chaguaramas that governs free movement, labor, capital, and the rights of establishment in the regional single market.
The treaty accommodates flexibility in terms of development, national development for each of its member states. It also caters for, it has a number of other countries within CARICOM that have systems in place to protect their markets and protect their citizens and their business community. One so is Trinidad. There's the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. There's an entire organization to protect the smaller states in CARICOM. So there are a number of other mechanisms that are there in place for countries to develop its various industries.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the Bihari Group of Companies, Suresh Bihari, who is an executive member of the Caribbean Private Sector Organization, has promised to facilitate a meeting between that organization and the Guyana government. Mr. Bihari is also distancing himself from any criticism of Guyana's local content law, in particular as it relates to the emerging oil and gas industry. In a statement, he is quoted as saying that he welcomes the provisions, protections, and incentives that are provided for all businesses to invest and grow in Guyana's oil and gas space. The Health Minister, Dr. Frank Anthony, says that COVID vaccination records are being digitized to provide foolproof cards. His assurance comes against the background of reports of fraudulent provision of Ministry of Health COVID vaccination cards to persons who have not taken a jab.
Well, we have a special team within the ministry that is working on the digitalization. We have got most of the physical registers, and we are now putting that in a digital format. A lot of the work has already been completed. Since last year, we have been working with UNDP to buy some of the equipment that is necessary, the computers, the specialized printers, and so forth. So we expect that we would get delivery of those special equipment to print the new cards within the first quarter of this year.
Official statistics released this afternoon show that 1,186 new cases have been recorded within the past 24 hours. There are now 8,680 active cases, with 8,413 persons told to isolate themselves at home and 121 others who were hospitalized. 13 of the hospitalized persons are seriously sick and are receiving intensive care. Fire Chief Calamidine Idu has been sent off the job into retirement amid allegations of financial malpractice. Mr. Idu told News Talk Radio that he received a letter from the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs, May Thomas, informing him to hand over to Deputy Fire Chief Wickham. Asked about allegations of financial irregularities being leveled against him, he says an investigation will be conducted. Mr. Idu says that he'll be proceeding on 6 months pre-retirement leave. Preston claims of financial malpractice. Mr. Idu says since taking up the job last year, he had requested an investigation into corruption at the Guyana Fire Service. He had been sent on leave several months ago amid claims that the response to the Brickdam police station fire had been tardy. Mr. Idu had resumed duty days after. Turning to news now from the region, legendary West Indies captain Sir Clive Lloyd was yesterday formally awarded his knighthood during an investiture ceremony performed by the Duke of Cambridge, Prince William, at Windsor Castle. Here's more from TTT News Online.
Former West Indies captain Sir Clive Lloyd has been awarded by the British Empire. The legendary captain received the Commander of the Order of the British Empire, or CBE, award for his services to the world of cricket. The CBE is the highest-ranking order of the British Empire and is given to persons in recognition for their positive impact they have made in their work. Also among the awardees was England one-day international captain Owen Morgan and women's snooker player Rhian Evans.
That report from TTT News Online. The Antigua and Barbuda government today confirmed that it will grant an amnesty to illegal immigrants. The cabinet will also shortly approach the parliament to grant amnesty to deserving residents whose immigration status is doubtful. The idea was proposed by Prime Minister Gaston Brown last year. Both the governing Antigua Labour Party Both the governing Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party and the opposition United Progressive Party have sought to leverage the large number of immigrants in the run-up to general elections. Back in the early 2000s, the then opposition United Progressive Party had promised citizenship to the large number of foreigners who had been residing there at the time. That party went on to win the elections, ending decades of fears that it had been anti-foreigner. Antigua and Barbuda is home to thousands of Guyanese, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, and nationals of the Dominican Republic.
That can happen here in this country. I want just to know that the beach belongs to me. That can happen here.
The management of Sandals Barbados Resort has apologized to cultural ambassador of Barbados, Anthony Gabby Carter, for a dispute in which the distinguished singer-songwriter was allegedly assaulted by a security guard. The incident occurred on Saturday when Carter was with human rights lawyer Lalu Hanneman and two other social activists examining various sections of the Dover Beach area where public beach access has been reportedly restricted. During the tour, the team stumbled on 5 signs erected by the luxury resort prohibiting non-guests from venturing within meters of the beach in front of the South Coast property. It was then that Gabby, carrying a sign which read, "The beach is mine," was instructed to move from the spot, which according to him is a public beach. He refused, noting that 2 years prior he was informed by management that illegal signs would be removed. Neither has expressed any serious intention to pursue the matter with the police. However, Gabby revealed that through Minister of Tourism and International Transport Senator Lisa Cummings, contact was made with Chairman and the CEO of Sandals Resorts International, Adam Stewart, who offered an apology. The cultural icon revealed that a management of Amalgamated Security Services Limited, which provides security on behalf of the resort, promised to review security footage and interview with the guard. They will then determine whether a public apology is warranted.
That can happen here in this country. I want just to know that the beach belongs to me. That can happen here over my dead body. Tell Jack that I say that the beach belongs to me.
And now we go to the BBC World Service for the latest bulletin of international news.
Maura Alderson with the BBC News. In London, Buckingham Palace has announced that Queen Elizabeth's second son, Prince Andrew, is to lose his royal patronages and military titles and will never return to official duties. It comes as he faces a civil case in the United States over claims he sexually assaulted a woman when she was aged 17, a charge he has consistently denied. Here's Daniela Relf.
The statement we had from Buckingham Palace was short, it was very stark and clear in its language, and it was issued, importantly, with the approval of the Queen. Her son will no longer have any public role at all. He has also had His Royal Highness, that title that he uses, removed from him. And also, interestingly, in the statement, Buckingham Palace reference this civil case that's being brought against him in the United States and say that he is defending that as a private citizen. So again, drawing this line between the public life of the royal family and Prince Andrew.
The US Supreme Court has blocked President Biden's plans to make either COVID vaccinations or weekly testing compulsory at companies that employ over 100 people. But the court has approved a vaccine mandate for healthcare workers at government-funded facilities. The US Justice Department has charged the founder of a far-right extremist group and 10 others with conspiring to commit sedition over the deadly attack on Congress last year. Stuart Rhodes and others linked to the Oath Keepers militia are accused of plotting to violently oppose the certification of President Biden's election victory. The British Security Service, MI5, has identified a woman it says has been seeking to improperly influence politicians on behalf of the Chinese government. It says the woman, named as Christine Chinku Li, a prominent lawyer, organised donations to political parties and individual MPs with money from foreign nationals based in Hong Kong and China. The Conservative MP Richard Graham said lawmakers must be more cautious.
I think it's sensible to assume that any mainland Chinese citizen could be a member of the Chinese Communist Party, and there's nothing illegal about that. The issue is really these covert donations to aspiring or actual parliamentarians, and that's where I think everybody in Parliament and outside needs to be very cautious.
The UN Secretary-General has called for a suspension of rules which he says are blocking spending that's urgently needed to save lives in Afghanistan. International aid has mostly dried up and foreign currency reserves have been frozen since the Taliban takeover. Antonio Guterres says funds must now be conditionally released.
Rules and conditions that prevent money from being used to save lives and the economy must be suspended in this emergency situation. International funding should be allowed to pay the salaries of public sector workers.
You're listening to World News from the BBC. The Norwegian Nobel Committee has joined international voices calling on Ethiopia's Prime Minister to end the current country's 14-month-long civil war. In a statement, it said Abiy Ahmed, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019, had a special responsibility to see an end to the bloodshed. Polish MPs have approved a controversial bill that would give government-appointed supervisors greater control over how schools are run. Rights groups say the government aims to use the law to block access to schools for organisations wanting to educate pupils about gender, sex education or LGBT rights. A man's gone on trial in London accused of plotting to kill a Pakistani blogger and political activist living in the Netherlands. The prosecution said that Mohammed Gohir Khan was hired as a hitman by figures thought to be based in Pakistan. Sekunda Kamani has the details.
Lawyers said the intended victim, Ahmed Waqas Goreya, was known for speaking out against the activities of the Pakistani government and appears to have been targeted for that reason. The jury was told Mr. Goreya had set up a blog on Facebook making fun of the Pakistani military and detailing alleged human rights violations. The prosecution said the defendant had travelled to Rotterdam purchasing a knife, but that he had been unable to locate Mr. Goreya and so returned to the UK, where he was arrested. The suspect, Mr. Khan, has pled not guilty to the charge of conspiracy to murder.
Opposition politicians in Chile say they will challenge the government's decision earlier this week to grant 2 private companies the right to mine 160,000 tonnes of lithium in the north of the country. They say lithium, which is used for electric car batteries, is a strategic resource which shouldn't have been handed to the private sector by an outgoing government. Chile's Conservative leader, Sebastián Piñera, will be replaced in March. That's the latest BBC News.
And it has the news to the moment.
Hit the standing lines? Don't worry, KFC has got you covered with their drive-thrus, which are open now from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. at Movietown, Vlissingen Road, Mandela Avenue, Reading Hoop, Parika and the Amazonia Mall. That's right, you can drive through at 6 of their 9 locations. Remember, their current opening hours are 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Go on down and let your taste buds savor the spices today. KFC.
It's finger licking good.
Now to end the news, a recap of the highlights. Opposition lawmaker Sherrod Duncan has been arrested for allegedly offending a senior official of the Guyana Elections Commission. A top private sector official is rejecting claims by the Caribbean private sector organization that Guyana's local content law violates regional trade rules. COVID vaccination cards are being digitized. Regionally, Antigua and Barbuda will be granting amnesty to illegal immigrants. The Sandals Resorts chain has apologized to the mighty Gabby after guards slapped him when he inquired about restrictions to access a beach. And internationally, the Duke of York's military titles and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen as he faces a U.S. civil action over sexual assault allegations. That's the end of the news, which came to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.